Hey, how's it going?
Hi. How's it going, Dan? Where are you going?
Jeju, South Korea.
바랍니다. 좌석을 원위치하시고 식사 테이블을 계단에 넣어
Welcome back, folks. I am here now in Seoul, Korea. It is about 7 p.m. local time, which is like 3 a.m. Vancouver time. And I've got about 2 hours to kill for my connecting flight to Jeju, Korea. So I am gonna make my way over to this mall over here. I think somewhere around there, Lottie Mall, if I can find my way over there, because I needed to pick up a suit last minute, which I got, and a shirt, but I still need a pocket square and a tie. So we're gonna head over here and let's get some stuff. And then I've got another hour in the air to get down to Jeju. I think it's a half-hour bus. Find my room, in bed by 6 a.m. my time. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tired, but this is gonna be fun. I don't even know what poker we're gonna play in this vlog yet. Hopefully they're not too strict on filming. Hopefully get some like 5-10 or 10-20 in there as well. But I'm gonna make my way over to this mall. If I don't make it, I will update you guys. Otherwise, see you all back on the plane. We're here. We have made it to Jeju. Jeju. It is late. It is 11, which is around 7 a.m. my time. That's a 24-hour day of doing nothing. I am so ready for bed. I think that's it for me, you guys. I will see you all in the morning. What's going on, folks? It is the next day. It is April 26th, about 7 p.m. right now. I have my first commentary session in around an hour. So, gonna get myself a nice shave, shower, suit up. I couldn't find a pocket square at the Korean Mall, an entire floor dedicated to suits. Not one single pocket square, so bought this. That's a dinner napkin, but it stays between us. All right, no one needs to know I'm stuffing a dinner napkin into my Canali suit. Also, couldn't find a tie, so I had to buy this. This is Burberry. $300. What the? But anyways, I'm gonna get ready, head down. I'll see you guys soon. And then after tonight, I believe we wrap up around 11:30. Gonna hopefully hop into some 5-10 or some 10-20 games. The rake is ridiculous, but let's get some poker into this vlog, shall we? See you guys in a bit. Hello and welcome back to day 4 of the APT here in Jeju, South Korea. Today, we have the day 1 of the Superstar Challenge, a nearly 25,000 USD entry. And we are going to be watching some high stakes regs battle it out. These guys are some absolute crushers and we have some great poker coming up here. How excited are you, Vidir? All right, folks, the moment you've all been waiting for. You've been very patient. But now it is time for some poker hands. Unfortunately, due to Korea legislations, We cannot film cash games. That's fine. But I'll show you guys around the resort while we discuss some hands. So, the very first table sat down at, we played 1-3. It's a 300 max, and we're playing with a bunch of guys that also play quite a bit higher. So, the quadruple blind raise was on frequently, and we went all in blind quite a few times and managed to lose $1,000. On to the next table. Jumped into 3-6, wasn't running too good, and then this hand happened. I pick up 8-7 of diamonds under the gun. I bump it on up to $15 in a 3-6 game. Pulls around to middle position, who now puts in the re-raise up to 50. We get a cold call from the button, about 1,000 effective. 4 betting is okay, but this time I decided just to call. You know, 3 ways to a flop. It's 9-4-3 rainbow, 1 diamond. Pretty innocuous board. We do have some backdoors here, so check it over. Middle position puts in a bet of 50, button folds, and I decide to get a little bit aggressive with it. See if we can fold out some ace queen type, just C bets. So bumping on up to 200. After a little bit of thought, my opponent does make the call. Head to the turn. It's not great. It's the 9 of clubs. We are going to be check raising some top pairs here though, so overall not the worst card in the deck, but a lot of my pocket 4s, pocket 3s are now going to want to start checking to trap and induce, just in case he has a hand like king, queen or something that wants to go for it now. So this hand is a give up. I check it over and my opponent checks behind. River though is an ace of diamonds, a pretty interesting card, as now if he did have a hand like pocket 10s, pocket jacks, not in a great spot for him. There's not too many hands that are going to play this way that are going to be happy. I imagine his ace highs will be betting the turn. So unless he has pocket aces, I think this is going to work. I decided to move all in, a little bit over pot, 1.5x. And before I can say all in, his money's already in the middle and he's rolled over quads. So we book around a $1,500 loss at the 2-5. And then we move to the 5-10 with the occasional 5-10 straddle. We'll discuss those hands in a bit, but I do want to get you guys some live footage, and I am allowed to film tournaments. So there is a tournament called the Tock Boom. It is a $500 entry. It is very weird tournament style. The first hour is 15-minute levels. The second hour is 10-minute levels. Third hour is 5-minute levels, and the fourth level is 2-minute levels. And I have a side bet with Greg Goes All In for who can last longer for $100. It's gonna be tough though. Calculating the pot in tournaments is gonna be a lot tougher. You gotta check your stack, and it's a 15-second shot clock, and you guys know how bad I am at adding up the pot. It's gonna be rough, but we are gonna get down there. We're gonna play the Tock Boom, and I've got some more commentary to do, 7 more days of live coverage for the APT. I'm loving it over here, guys. Jeju is absolutely unreal. Take a look at this view here. All right, I've got to get into the commentary booth now. I will be back to you tomorrow with all the 5-10 and 5-10-20 hands. See you guys in a bit. All right, so let's get into some 5-10 hands. We had an under the gun open. Let me check. Under the gun +2 opens, middle position calls for 30, and cutoff calls as well. We looked at an ace king off in the small blind, bumping on up to $200. Here we go. Only the middle position makes the call, so we're heads up to this flop, which is quite nice. It's ace 10-7, 2 hearts, 1 diamond, make top pair. Definitely worthy of a small bet here, so 150 into the middle. My opponent makes the call. And so turn is not great. It's a 9 of spades. Cards will be better for my opponents. He is going to improve at least to a pair plus open ender or pair plus gut shot here. It's going to be very tough for this card not to improve him. So with a hand like ace king that's very vulnerable, as well as being a flush draw and a lot of straight draws, and the river's going to get super messy, this deserves a check, especially out of position. So check over to my opponent, and we do face a bet. $410 into the middle. Nothing to do here but call. Head to the river. It's a good one. The ace of spades improving us to trips, but most importantly, it's going to counterfeit 10-9, 9-7, 10-7 suited. All hands that my opponent might have, although the games are quite snug here. So I don't imagine him having 10-7, or probably not 9-7, but we do counterfeit 10-9 suited, which is important. I check it over to my opponents. I'm never leading here in this spot. I'm not leading. So checking over, my opponent thanks for a little bit, checks it back. He announces, I don't think I can get you off of pocket queens. I'm a little bit stronger than that. I've got ace king. Roll it over, it is good, and we are gonna pick up a $1,600 pot to start off our 5-10 session. Hey guys, reporting to you from this beautiful rainforest. Nah, I'm kidding. It's a cafe. Okay, on to this next hand. We are now playing 5-10-20. The under the gun +2 player has raised it up to 55. We have a caller on the low jack to my right, and I look down at jack 10 suited in the hijack. Definitely a squeeze hand, but also the rake is very high, $50 cap. So I'm gonna lean more towards 3-better fold. So this time I bump it up to 230, and both players make the call. Take a 3-way flop. It's all right. It's king, 10, 8, 1 diamond. Got a little something going on here. So it checks to me. Gonna start with a bet here. Does not be big, so I fire up 200. We get a caller from the under the gun player, and the low jack folds. Off the turn, it's really nice. It's the 7 of diamonds, improving us to a gut shot and a flush draw. Overall, though, a card's gonna be a lot better for my opponent than it is for me. As well, our hand's really middle of the pack here. What does a bet really accomplish? Are we gonna fold out a king? No. So when my opponent checks, we're just gonna check this one back. River's nice though. It's a 9 of spades, giving us the straight. And after about a minute or two of thought, my opponent decides to 2x the river all in for about $2,000. Nothing to do here. If he's got it, he's got it. Let's hope it's not a chop, and let's definitely hope he doesn't have queen jack. We flick him the call. I tell him he's got a jack. He gives me a smile and says, that is good for this $5,000 pot. What a session we are having so far. On to the next hand. All right, for our next hand, we are out here. My morning exercise, hopping into this pool. We have a small blind open to $20. I look down at ace deuce of spades in the straddle. Could call, could raise. Really want to raise, but I think ace 3 suited makes the most sense. So I just decide to call, and I hate my life because the flop comes out. Queen 9-7 all spades. We flop the nuts. How about that? Unfortunately though, my opponent decides just on a check. We have to do our own betting on these monotone boards. I always go very, very, very small. So 30 in the middle. My opponent does call. We get to the turn. It is the 10 of clubs. All right, it's all right. My opponent once again checks, and I don't want to go too big because I do want to be betting hands like queen jack here. So I'm gonna use a middling size, around half pot, $100 in the middle. My opponent once again makes the call. Hence the river. It is the 6 of clubs. We still have the nuts, amazing. And my opponent once again checks. We look over his stack, he's got around 1,600 behind, so about 4x the pot. And after a little bit of thought, I'm just gonna have so much offsuit ace X with the ace of spades here that I think I can just jam with all of my nut flushes, because a lot of them are gonna be re-raising small blind versus straddle anyways. So because of this, I'm just gonna have so many bluffs here. I think all my nut flushes can just go for it. So I decided to move all in. $1,600 into the middle, and my opponent does not fold right away. He actually gives it a very, very long tank. We're looking about 4 or 5 minutes. It's getting close. I can feel it. I can feel the call. The last thing he goes, no, and returns his cards to the dealer. We don't get paid that hand, but still nice to win a 3rd big hand in a row. Off to the next hand. All right, guys. So this next hand, we make a pretty loose open with the 10-8 off on the button. Way too loose for a $50 rate game, but we get a caller from the straddle, take a flop. It is 6-4 deuce rainbow. Put in a small bet here. Doesn't be too big. I think I bet 40. My opponent calls. Off the turn, we bank an 8 of clubs. Backdoor flush draw does get there. 7-5 does get there. But gonna go for some value here. Don't want to go too big, around 60%, which is about 135. After a 2-3 minute tank, we get a call. River, jack of clubs. It is an overcard, but I'm not too worried about it as it is a club. So if he was floating, you know, it's really not that many jacks that are gonna hit this. So after a little bit of thought, the pot's around nearly 500. I put in a value bet, 385 to go, and we face the longest tank I have ever faced. It's the first time I almost called the clock on someone. I was considering it heavily. We were approaching the 7 or 8 minute mark at this point, and at this point I'm feeling very good about my hand. And eventually he just goes, I call, so flip it over, we show the 8, and he throws over one of the hands, just like what we were trying to get called by, the 7-6, the pair plus gut shot. Our plan worked out beautifully to pick up that extra value there. Really nice to wait that 7 minutes for that hand to get paid the extra 385. Then the dealer starts pushing the pot to him. And I go, no, I have an 8. And my man has a 7-6 of clubs. He had the flush and tank for 8 minutes. Oh my God. Unbelievable. Yeah, we lose that pot.
Okay, cut. That's a wrap.
Yeah, good.
So the button opens up to $60. Small blind, a young UK pro. Looks like he kind of wants to raise, but he just decides on a flat. Big blind gets out the way. We look down at pocket nines in the straddle. Nothing to do here. We bump it on up to $270. Button makes a quick call, and the pro gets out the way. Heads up to a flop. It's 10-6-4. Leave us 2 clubs. It's a 10 high flop. We're out of position. Kind of want to check this, especially pocket nines. So I'll go ahead and check, and we get a pretty quick check back. So feeling pretty good until it turns a king of spades, introducing a backdoor flush draw. Not great. Just going to go into check call mode here. So I check. We face about a half pot bet of $300 here. Not in love with this, but I mean, what can you do? Pocket nines, it's hard to make a pair, so I make the call. We head to a river. It's another 6 pairing the board, and we get a very quick half pot bet when I check it over of $600. Oh, this one is tough. I think it over for a bit. I look up, I give him a little smile. He smiles back, so I decide, let's try and get a few live reads out of this. I start talking to him. I tell him, I should have bet the flop. And he goes, yeah, you should have. Think it over for a bit, and then slowly, my heart keeps saying, I think you should call. We don't be good too often. It's only half pot bets, so I decide to flick in the money, the $600. My opponent says, king is good. I don't have king. He says, queens are good. I'm like, no. I just tell him I got pocket nines. He says, that's good too. And we scoop that pot. Hey, how we doing? For a final hand of 5-10 here at Landing Casino in Jeju, Korea. We open up the ace-5 of diamonds up to $30. The straddle is off. We get a 3-bet from my left, all the way up to $110. We had a little bit of a scuffle. Some lady thought it was just $30 and tried to cold call, but we just said, just take your money back. Who cares? Gets back to me, ace-5 suited. Could go many ways here. We are quite deep, sitting around, I think 3.5K effective, so 350 big blinds here. This time I decided to go aggressive with it. We're both in later positions, so this 3-bet doesn't have to be too crazy. And yeah, I bump it on up. $330 to go, about 3x out of position. And my opponent gives a little bit of thought, and then does call. Heading out of position to a flop of 8-7 deuce, 1 diamond. Overall, not a bad board. It's probably gonna be a bit better for me considering it's a 3-bet range for my opponent and then a 4-bet for me. So we're mostly playing the overpair game here, and most of our hands are going to whiff this flop. So I start with small bet. Quarter pot is what I like to use, especially out of position in a 4-bet pot. So 150 into the middle, and my opponent gives it quite a bit of thought before making the call. We head to the turn. It's a 10 of hearts. Doesn't choose the backdoor flush draw, but not the one that we wanted. So all things considered, I think it's my least favorite card. Pocket 10s have just got there. Jacks and queens are still feeling really good. We're really hoping to fold out ace-king here. Yeah, I'm just going to do something crazy here and give up. It sucks. Opponent gives it quite a bit of thought here, but eventually does decide on a bet. $450 is his wager. We obviously can't continue here. We're just going to have to give this one up. And yeah, we fold. But that is the end of my cash games for Jeju, Korea. I probably won't have time to do any more. We booked a win of $3,650. Canadian, that is. Not bad. I think total across the 3 games we're up maybe about 1,000. All in all, not bad. Today, head down to commentate on the 25K Superstar Challenge. See you guys in a bit. first hand of the Tick Tock Boom, we have Queen 7 of Hearts in the cutoff, open up to $400. Small blind makes a call, so does the big blind. Go 3 ways to a flop of Ace, King, 3, 2 spades, 1 heart. Very nice board for me, so when it checks, gonna start with a bet here. I put in a wager of 300. Small blind makes a call, and big blind folds. Opposite turn, it is the 8 of Hearts, basically a blank, but gives us the flush draw. And now my opponent donk leads for pot. Okay. I don't even know what this is, but I'm trying to count the stack, and there's a 15-second shot clock, and all of a sudden it's really short, and by the time it was down to like 2 seconds, I hadn't even thought about what my decision should be. I was still just trying to calculate the pot and the SPR behind. So I just defaulted. I went to a raise. I've got all the strongest hands on this board. I don't even know what the hell he's representing here with a donk pot lead on a blank on one of the worst boards for out of position. So I think a raise is in order here. I bump up to 6K and he just snap shoves. It takes him half a second from when I raised and he's all in. So not much we can do. I guess we fold. Really would have liked to just call there or possibly fold. But yeah, that 15-second shot clock is just wreaking havoc on me. He said he had pocket 8s, so oh well. In this next hand, we're in the big blind. Button has raised to 700. Small blind has made it 2.5K, and we look down at Ace, Jack of Spades in the big blind. We don't have too much behind, like 30-something big blinds. This seems like a no-brainer. All in. And the button folds. Small blind thanks for a bit. And also folds. Very nice pickup there, adding like 40% to our stack in just one hand, no showdown. In this next hand, we open up the Ace 8 of clubs up to 600. Button makes a call, and the player from last hand now squeezes up to 2.1K. We're like 3 orbits in, and this is like his 4th or 5th 3-bet, and he's already 4-bet twice, so when it gets back to me, I could jam here, but I decide just to flat, keep his range wide. So I call, and button folds. Heads up to a flop, comes down King, 9, 8, 2 spades. So we make bottom pair, feeling okay about this considering how active he's been. Small blind now bets out, 1.5K, nothing to do, we make the call. Opposite turn, it is the 10 of diamonds, so board's getting a little bit connected now, and my opponent does check it over. Just going to check this one back. I don't see too much value in betting, so. Opposite river, the 7 of spades, so the flush draw gets there, as well as any jack or any 6 now make a straight. My opponent thinks for a bit, and then checks. And over here, I'm trying to add up the pot, trying to see how much is in there, how much behind. Once again, we're down to 2 seconds, and for whatever reason, I thought that this was about a pot-sized bet. So I moved basically all in, save myself a few chips, and I bet 12K, and as soon as my chips hit the ground, he just slams his chips onto the table. All right, settle down. And my opponent has pocket jacks. Rough. Did not mean to bet that much. I would have really liked, if I could have added the pot in that time, something like, the pot was 8.4K, I think 5K does the same job here. You know, queens are in a rough spot, king, queen, ace, kings, all in a rough spot. So, yeah, the sizing is just because I couldn't add the pot. Yeah, so we're basically out of this one. Well, that was anticlimactic, especially for a tournament named Tick Tock Boom. I didn't even make it past the first hour. I couldn't even play poker. That 15-second shot clock and trying to add up the pot when you have a learning disability, when it comes to adding up the pot, is just... it was too much. My thought process was, how much is the pot? How much is the pot? Count. Shit, we're down 10 seconds. Okay, that's the pot. How much is my stack? Right, 12K, I remember that. Down to 8 seconds. What's the SPR? Fuck. And now we're down to 4 seconds, and now I begin my thought process of, should I bet here? Should I call here? Should I fold here? And couldn't even think. Yeah, just couldn't even think. So, one of the worst bits of poker I played, one of the worst $600 I've ever spent, but tonight, it's an early day, and at 7 p.m. tonight, there is a turbo high roller, which means a 30-second shot clock, which should be a lot better, as I don't really take over 30 seconds to make any of my decisions, and I'm going to try and take better notes of what the pot is as we go through each street, so that I just know what the hell is going on. It is an $1,100 buy-in, a little bit high, but there's not too much selection for me given my schedule. But I will see you guys. We're going to play the turbo, and we're going to have some fun, and we're hopefully going to win it for hopefully like 30K. I don't know how much first place, but we're going to try our best. But that is it for me, guys. I am gonna get down there into the commentary booth, do my stuff, and then we're gonna play this turbo. See you folks in a bit. All right, so we're gonna cover a $600 turbo that I final tabled, but first, I wanna go over this hand, which is the most ridiculous float ever. I'm still tilted by it, but Under the Gun opens, it is a $300 super hyper turbo, and I'm chip leading the tournament. So Under the Gun opens up to 1.1k, the big blind is 500, +1 calls, folds to me, and I defend with 10-4 of diamonds here. We go 3 ways to this flop, comes down 7-5-3 with 2 diamonds. What a flop. I checked a little bit too quick here. I wish I thought about leading, but I don't think I would have in the end because these opponents are just c-betting too often, and the point of leading is to not face a check back. So we check. Under the Gun player does bet. I think he bet 1.1k again, +1 calls, and definitely going to put in the raise here. Under the Gun is a little bit shorter than +1, so I only need to raise about 3.5k, and then he'll have around like an 80% bet on the turn if I do decide to jam it in. But Under the Gun player folds, and then +1 calls again, so he's going to be a little bit strong here. He could have a better flush draw, but if the turn is a brick, we could definitely get him off a flush draw. So turn is the 8 of clubs. Pretty good card, only 8-7 suited improves, so that's only 2 combos. I guess pocket 8s also improves, but it's so few hands, so this 8 isn't really going to hit him very often. So I just decided to go for it. It's a little bit over pot. I just move all in. He takes about 2-3 minutes and then calls. And we're up against 10-8 of spades for a complete nothing burger on the flop, calling 2 bets, and then spikes a 2-outer 8 on the turn. River's another 8, so he stacks us, and we're down to just over a starting stack, and we eventually busted, I think, an hour or 2 later. But what is that hand? Anyways, let's jump in to the $600 turbo that I final tabled. Here we are, first hand of the turbo. I open up the ace jack off in the Under the Gun +1 position up to 800. Little min raise here. Folds around to the mid position player who now puts in a 3-bet. It's huge. Up to 3,000 in chips. This player is getting absolutely bullied at this table. Every time he raises, he's getting 3-bet and he just folds. Every time he 3-bets, he gets 4-bet, just folds. Very, very, very tight player. And I saw him open up king, queen. Flop was ace, ace, king. Turn a blank, and he folded king, queen to like a 1/3 probe bet. So I am going to go crazy against this guy. I'm just going to move all in here. I think I like to just take it to the streets and try and outplay him post-flop, but I think we just pick up this enormous 3-bet without any contest quite often. So I move all in, 22,000, and he snap calls us. We're up against ace, king of spades. We go to a flop. It is 6-5-4, 2 spades. Not good. Turn. 4 of diamonds. We got some chop outs. The river. 8 of diamonds. No good. And we indeed do lose that one. All right. We still have 15 big blinds. We're still in it. And even better, we get pocket aces on the button. Rewarded for my punt. Bump it up to 1,000 in chips. Small blind folds and big blind folds. Damn it. So this next hand, the player to my right, I believe the hijack, has opened up the ace-9 of diamonds here, and we make the call with the king-queen off. Head on over to a flop. We got about 8k. It's a jack-high flop. My opponent did make middle pair. We have a gut shot. The turn. It's a 5 of clubs, the river. 8 of diamonds. Unfortunate. Ace-9 is going to take us out of this tournament, and we're going to head on over to the rebuy cage to rebuy. So we rebought, faced a couple 3-bets, and we had to fold, but now this time we have ace-6 of clubs, open it up to 3k in the cutoff. Small blind decides to move all in for effective stack, 15k, roughly around 10 bigs. When it gets back to us, we are going to make the call. Let's take it away to the floor. And just like that, we double up. We're sitting on 20 big blinds. Feeling pretty good. 20 big blinds. Definitely some post-flop play in there. So in this next hand, we have an under the gun open to 3k. I looked on a jack 10 of diamonds and just rip it in. He's only got like 10 big blinds effective. If I told you guys that I was not very studied in super hyper turbos 10 big blind stacks, I think you guys would believe me. But there it is. I ripped it in. He makes the call. Let's take it to the flop. And just like that, our stack is now down to 20k, but still got some fighting chips. This next hand, we have a low jack open to 3k, and I look down at king queen suited with around 15 big blinds. I think this is a reshove spot. I think flatting is also pretty good as well, especially the suited variety, but I'm just too worried someone's going to squeeze from behind and then I lose 2 big blinds, which means a lot because the blinds are going to go up soon. So this time I just decide to reshove 22,000. My opponent has ace queen, so he makes the call. Let's take it to the board. We spiked the straight on the river to double up, sitting on about 45,000 in chips now. Really nice healthy stack. We're close to 30 big blinds at this point. Guys, all these hands are just all-ins. There was literally no post-flop play in this super, or in this turbo. But, middle position, just open jam about 20 bigs. I looked on pocket nines in the small blind, I've got 15 bigs. I guess we're all in, so I'd call big blind folds, and looking pretty good against ace king. Take it to the flop. And a big hold there with the pocket nines. We're up over 33 big blinds now in this turbo, and we're doing very well with a nice healthy stack here. What a hold. Okay, folks, we have been on the stone bubble for quite some time now, and I'm completely card dead. My 100k stack is now down to 35k, and blinds are 3k, 6k. I have not been able to get anything going, and I'm getting close to being the bubble boy. We have 2 tables of 5, and the final 9 are paid. We're in hand for hand, and I head over to the other table because there is an all-in here. Got it on camera. It's ace king versus pocket queens. If the queens hold, we make it to the final table. Let's take it to the board. And just like that, pocket queens finds the hold, and we manage to make our first ever final table playing for one of these small APT Lion trophies. And we got to take a final table picture. Take a look at this. There's our group of 9 playing for, I believe it's $7,000 up top. I am in this for $1,200. 9th place won't even cover my 2 buy-ins, but let's keep battling. I don't have too many chips behind. We are now at the final table, and the dealer button is 2 to my right, which means 20% of my stack is already in there. I think even more with the big blind ante. Something like 35 to 40% of my stack I have to post this hand. But low jack has raised it up, min raised to 12k, and we look down, pocket 5s. Let's get it in. I shove all in. I tell my opponent there's not much more to call. He does make the call. We head to a flop. It's a nice one. 8-3 deuce, all hearts. My opponent doesn't have a heart. The turn. We turn a set. My opponent is now dead, and the needle on the river is the king of hearts, giving me a flush and giving him top pair, top kicker, but it's no good. And now we're up to just over around 12 big blinds. Definitely a healthy stack. We can survive.
Thank you.
We are down to 7 remaining, and I pick up ace queen of clubs, under the gun +1, sitting around like an 80k stack, so about 10 bigs. Min raise here to 16k, fold round. Small blind does make the call before big blind announces all in. We got a little bit of overlay here from the small blind, so I think ace queen suited is just strong enough to make the call. So I flick it in, small blind gets out the way. Unfortunately, we're up against the pocket queens, but we do flop a flush draw. Let's see if I can hit the turn or the river.
Oh no. Unfortunately, we don't hit either, and with that, we bust in 7th place.
good for $1,540, so a small little profit of $340. That's alright. We didn't get the trophy this time. Thank you very much. Alright, folks, that is going to end all the tournaments that I played in Jeju, South Korea in the APT. I ended up negative $760 across my 5 entries, but we're up $1,372 in cash, so total for the trip up about $600. But I do have a few cash game hands to share with you guys, so let's jump straight into those. This game is 10:20. The cutoff has opened. I looked down at pocket queens on the button. I am on a 2-hour break from commentary, so hopefully not going to lose too much on this little break. But we 3-bet the pocket queens, 170 to go. Folds back around to the cutoff, and he does make the call. Heads up to a flop of Jack, Jack, 8, Rainbow. Pretty nice board. My opponent checks. Going to start with a small bet here. I thought this was 1/3, but I put in 150. Whatever, same. My opponent does make the call. Turn's okay. It's a 7 of hearts. 10-9 does get there, but this opponent really likes to lead turns and rivers anytime he's got a hand. So he does just check it over, and this is just green light to keep going. I don't want to go too big. I think he might have some non-believing ace highs, maybe some pocket 10s, pocket 9s. So I put in a bet of 300, and my opponent thinks for a little bit and then makes the call. We head to the river. It is the 4 of hearts. And now my opponent's deep in the tank, thinking it over. And he reaches for chips, and I'm about to snap fold my queens if this man leads. Every time he leads, he just has it. It's never a bluff. But then he does something weird and then checks. And you know that thing where they go for chips and then check it? That's so weak. It's always weak, but I don't know. This one felt weird. But every time he's had value, he's always led. So maybe he was thinking about pulling a bluff with like pocket 10s or pocket 9s? Perhaps? But I think this is the green light to go ahead and try to get some value from a hand like pocket 10s or pocket 9s. So I don't want to go too small, and I put in a bet of 950. And my opponent takes about 30 seconds and then announces all in. We have about 2,500 behind. Oh man, that's gross. But he's just led every single time. If he had pocket 8s, pocket 7s, 10-9, if he had ace jack, if he had a flush, he would lead at least the river. And if not the river, definitely the turn. He would lead at some point. He always does. So what is this? Is he just going nuts? Does he have pocket 10s or 9s? Does he have... I don't know. Something felt off. You know, it was a very peculiar line from him to take with value. One that he's never taken before. So I get very curious and decide something feels off. I'm going to make the call. And the reason he didn't lead is because my man has pocket jacks and we've run into quads twice on this trip. And we have now lost $4,000 on our break. But I rebuy for another $4,000. We're gonna get right back at it. On to this next hand. Low jack has opened to 60. I look down ace 3 of spades to his direct left and bump it up to 200. Folds back around and he does make the call. Heads up to a flop of 6-5-3 rainbow. No spade though, so when he checks to me, just gonna check this one back. Turns nice though. It's the ace of diamonds. And interestingly enough, my opponent now pro bets the turn for 230. Really weird to do this on an ace turn after I check back flop, you know. Very heavy ace high checks on this board, so not really sure what to make of this, but I assume he's got a hand like ace queen or ace jack here, so just gonna bump this up, try and get some value. I put in the raise to 600, and after a little bit of thought, my opponent does make the call. Hence the river. It's the jack of hearts, so it's nice that the flush didn't complete, but jack is a little bit scary. I am a little bit worried about ace jack, but he once again checks it, and we just gotta go for value here. It's about 1 SPR on the river, so 1,400 into the middle, and we face a very long tank, like 4 or 5 minutes. Comes very close to calling. It looks like he's gonna call. And at the last second, he puts his chips down and returns the cards to the dealer. We're not going to get paid, but our stack is growing a little bit. We're getting close to 5,000 in our stack. In this next hand, we pick up the Queen Jack of Hearts, open it up to $50 in the low jack. We get a call from the cutoff as well as the big blind. 3 ways to a flop of 8, 6, 4, 2 hearts, 1 spade. When the big blind checks, this board is just terrible for me, and I just don't want to bet this, so gonna check my entire range here. I check, and cutoff now puts in a big bet of 130 into 160. Big blind gets out the way. We are going nowhere with 2 overs and a flush draw, so I make the call. And turn is very nice. It's the 5 of hearts. We make our flush. I check it over to my opponent. Not really gonna lead here. After a little bit of thought, he does check it back. River is the 10 of spades. I like that card, you know, 7-9 got there. So I'm just going to check this once again. Actually, 7-9's already a straight in the turn. What am I talking about? 10-8 got there, I guess. But just going to check. I want to go for that check raise. And after a little bit of thought, my opponent does bet 230 into the middle. It's a bit on the small side for a river bet in position, so my raise is going to be a little bit larger. I'm going to go very polarized here. So I decide on a sizing of $900. My opponent thinks about it for about a minute, and he pays us off. He makes the call. We show, obviously, it's good, and we're scooping a $2,000 pot to put us near a $7,000 stack. This is the final hand of 10-20. I was down 4,000 on hand number 3, and we managed to cash out for, I think, 7,550. Not bad. Only losing 450 after that disaster first hand. I'll take it. This is the final hand, my final session in Jeju, South Korea. Low jack has opened to 30. High jack has called, and I look down at pocket 7s in the small blind. Just going to call here, and big blind gets out the way. 3 ways to a fantastic flop. 7-5-3, 2 spades, 1 heart. I check it over, and good news, low jack puts in a bet of $60. Better news, high jack now raises to 200. Against a bet and a raise, I almost play my entire range as a re-raise. It's so awkward to have calls here. Everything looks strong. I can't really call with a flush draw, so I think my entire raise just wants to raise. So I put in the raise, 500. I assume low jack has an overpair here, and high jack could have a lower set, but more than likely, he's probably just got like a really strong draw here. So 500 into the middle. Low jack is thinking it over. Even better news, 4-bet all in from low jack. Oh, we love to see it. And now high jack's thinking it over. And even better news, high jack goes for the 5-bet on the flop all in. We snap call, and we're up against low jack's pocket queens, and high jack has 5-3 suited. Yes, what a spot. They have 2 outs between the 2 of them. They're completely dead. The turn is the 8 of diamonds, river, the jack of hearts. Close, but that is it. We're going to scoop this $6,000 pot, which is going to put us just up over $2,000 for the trip, I think. Very nice. Okay, and with that final hand of 5-10, we end our poker playing for this vlog. Across the cash games, I played 12 hours and won $2,974. I played 6 hours of tournaments. Yeah, 6 hours for 5 tournaments, minus $760. The total for the trip, we're up $2,214. And now it's time for a much needed trip off resort to go explore the island of Jeju, South Korea. And that is it for the vlog. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm reporting from my next stop in Asia. You'll have to watch the next video to find out where that is. So if you do want to find out, subscribe. But I want to end this on a high note. I would love to shout out Greg Goes All In. Met him at a home game. He put my name forward to the APT. Huge shout out to the APT as well. They reached out to me, facilitated this incredible tournament series, and obviously giving me this fantastic opportunity. And finally, to all the new friends I made who ruined half of my B-roll clips, thanks. This was an amazing experience for me. I loved every second of it, and I hope to see all of you again in Taipei for the next APT.